Inside PressBox is presented by Friedmont Mortgage. Don't make a 30-year mistake by choosing the wrong lender. Go to Friedmont.com now for all of your mortgage needs. And welcome to another edition of Inside PressBox. I'm your host, Stan the Fan Charles. This week, I'll be joined by a new face in the PressBox lineup. Columnist Bill Ordine will be here to introduce MarylandGaming.net, a new website that PressBox has started that covers gambling throughout the state of Maryland. We'll also check in on the MTA and see what goes into winning a bus rodeo. But first, if you or your kids want to step up your athletic performance, you'll want to meet my next guest, Eric Gordon. He's president and CEO of the Gordon Institute, which brings sports performance and physical therapy together under one roof. And we thank you for being here, Eric. We've been trying to get you for a little while. Our schedules conflicted, but we got you here.
We got it. Thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit what makes the Gordon Institute. I've heard the name for years and everything. I've heard the Bulldog doing commercials for you on the radio and all that.
Right.
But what makes them different than just going either to a trainer or a physical therapist?
Sure. One of the unique things is that we have strength and conditioning coaches. They're not really personal trainers. And what that really means is they've got an education, a college education, and a background that's a pedigree of being in the NFL, Major League Baseball, Olympic sports, really understand how to work with athletes of all levels, from amateurs at a recreational level like you and I, all the way up to the professional athlete.
Now, your place, though, separates also because you do both the training on the skills, you do technique, correct, and you also do the physical.
Correct.
So it's a unique place, it sounds like.
Yeah, and that's what makes us unique. We try and look at it from the perspective of there's a medical component, the physical therapy, and understanding rehabilitation from the physical therapy end, the strength and conditioning element, of course, and then the third element is really working with athletes at many different levels, understanding real sport and position-specific technique. You can make somebody be a better athlete, stronger, faster, quicker.
And we're looking at some of the training that goes on with you at the Gordon Institute right now on screen.
But what you really want it to translate into is performance. And that third element of really working on position-specific technique in whatever sport that happens to be is really that final component. Is that for efficiency in how someone plays, or does that also have the component of preventing injury by doing technique the correct way? Both. Definitely preventing injury, and that's what we look at with everything that we do. We want athletes to perform better, but we want them to be able to hopefully resist having to be injured because they're not conditioned properly, they haven't addressed their mechanical issues, somebody hasn't really looked closely at the mechanical issues they have, and everybody does. Even the best professional athletes that we all watch week in, week out have real problems. And if they leave them unaddressed, ultimately that's going to come to the surface and subsequently potentially become injured. Now, I know you're a sports fan. We talked before you went on the air, and I won't hold it against you that you're born in Boston and you're a Red Sox fan when they're not playing the Orioles. I root for them the rest of the time, right. But two guys that I know you know that had great longevity in the game of baseball, Nolan Ryan, Tom Seaver. Sure. I always remember kind of knowing that those guys had proper technique. Great technique. And technique can lead to longevity and making you more efficient in performance. Sure. I mean, for one, those guys genetically superior, exceptional, different, built differently than you and I. Definitely me. But their technique was really sound, extraordinarily consistent, and they spent a lot of time on making sure they were meticulous with technique. That gave them great durability. The expression, practice doesn't make perfect, perfect practice makes perfect. That's correct. That's really true, and it can help in the case of injuries. Of the things that you do at the Gordon Institute, you personally, what do you enjoy the most there?
Is it the physical therapy because that's what you're more trained in yourself?
You know, I guess what I enjoy the most is you like to see the outcomes, especially when you take somebody, and they don't have to be the extraordinarily gifted athlete. They could just be the average person. When they really achieve the goals that they're desiring, hey, you know, I made my rec league team, and I'm just a little more comfortable playing. I feel more comfortable around my peers, or, you know, this was a personal best for me. Whatever that is, those are the more rewarding things.
Have you had to tell people, athletes, that, you know, because of the physical problems they have, that it's time that the risk and reward aren't worth it? And how hard is that to do? Yeah,
it's challenging. I mean, you have to try and put that in a manner that they can evaluate and weigh the risk benefit out of things. You want to be objective about it and bring somebody to the point that really ultimately they're making the decision, because it is their decision. But you want them to be really informed and educated and understand that eventually there's going to be a payoff that they're going to have to pay, like what we're watching with all these athletes, you know, particularly in the NFL, that get into their 40s and 50s, and all the injuries that they had earlier in life now come out to rear their head, and it's a real struggle for them.
Overwhelming,
sure,
for some of them, as we most recently saw with Junior Seau.
Correct.
Before we go, your website, can you give it to folks and tell them how to find you?
Sure. It's thegordoninstitute.com.
Gordon, thegordoninstitute.com.
Correct.
And what will they find there?
And they will find both information on the physical therapy practice. They'll find information on our sports performance, strength and conditioning programs, all the different things that we offer there. And it's fairly informative.
All right. Appreciate your coming in, spending some time with us.
Always.
Gordon Institute, it is. I know people that have been there. It's a unique place. Thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. When we get back, I'll talk with PressBox's newest columnist, Bill Ordine, so don't go away. Go to PressBoxOnline.com and register a youth team in your community for a chance to be highlighted as the PressBox Youth Team of the Month. Sponsored by Sports Authority. Go to PressBoxOnline.com for all the details.